This is The Outlook. LGBTI news, views and culture brought to you by NewsHub. Welcome to the first edition of The Outlook, queer news, views and culture. This is episode 1 and thanks for joining us. On the show this week we have Petazae Thoms, who has an amazing story to tell us. We won't give too much away, but it does involve a certain famous couple who are in New Zealand this week. Joining us later is Tayler Morgan from Married at First Sight, who will talk to us about stereotypes, Samuel and taking PrEP. And this week's co-host is a man of many, many, many talents. He can act, direct, and he's written some of the funniest stuff on television. Harry McNaughton. Can you dance, tap dance? What else can you do?
I'm doing a dance show in 2 weeks.
Oh, there we go.
Can do it all.
Just, you've clocked.
Can't tap dance.
Okay. Is that the only thing?
No, there are many things.
So, Petazae, before we hear about your week, we just want to hear a bit about you, your background, and how you managed to be at this special event.
Yeah, gosh, I'm still asking myself the same question. How I got into it is that I volunteer for Live for Tomorrow, and in that we have a group called the Online Crisis Intervention Team, and we reach out to people. We follow the model that we go to people in need rather than expecting them to come to us, because we all know that that's a very prominent message of get help.
Yes.
But when you're in a state of crisis, it's very hard to actually get help.
Yeah, some people won't even know how or where or what.
Yeah.
So our team is trained to actually reach out to them instead of waiting.
And it sort of fundamentally makes it their problem, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, okay, you're in distress, you get yourself out. Yeah. So
let's not go libertarian on it.
So I've been volunteering with them for about 1.5 years now. And what led me there was my own struggles and my own sort of, not knowing what to do with myself and who I was. And my gender was a big struggle as well. I transitioned end of 2016. And I got to a stage in my recovery and in figuring out who I was that I felt confident enough to actually be able to support other people as well. Because, I've been there, I've been in such a dark place, and I can feel that, have that empathy for others who are there too, and I wanted to support them. So, that's kind of how I got invited.
And for people who haven't worked it out, what exactly happened, these two people that you got to meet in Wellington, tell us who they were. Yeah,
well, they were the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
Tell us what it was like. Just what are they like to actually talk to?
Yeah.
What do they smell like?
That's actually
tell us everything.
That's a really common question, actually. Yeah. Like some people are like, what do they smell like? You know, like, I don't even remember.
Don't you want to know what kind of perfume and cologne they wear? Okay. Yeah. What do they look like?
I mean, like first, I said it out loud when they walked in. I said it to my manager next to me. I said, "Man, they look exactly like they do in the photos.
Yeah.
Like there's no catfishing going on there.
Yeah.
They're both stunning. Like I remember looking at Harry and thinking, man, you got nice eyes, and like Meghan Markle's just beautiful. It was insane. It's another world. I got to step into their world for a bit. There's sort of an inherent value in sitting with them and speaking with them, and also speaking with everybody else in that room who's doing some amazing things for mental health in New Zealand. So
I saw some footage of you actually in conversation with them. What were you talking about, and did you get a chance to kind of touch on any LGBTI issues to get their opinion and their thoughts?
Yeah, well, we only got 10 minutes with them, so 10 minutes goes by very fast in those situations. Not quite when you're on a treadmill, but in those situations, very fast. And so we talked about how we're supporting people and what that looks like for us. And they had some great opinions on social media and Instagram and how that's affecting youth. And also, you could just tell that they know their stuff. And they're like interested in it, and they're not just there because it ticks the boxes of what looks good.
They weren't just soundbiting.
Yeah, they were actually invested.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that they seem genuinely interested in hearing about this stuff, especially while in New Zealand.
Yeah,
around mental health.
Yeah, there was someone next to me, Ezekiel, who's from up north, and he is created like a support network in his community, and he's actually met them before, and he's met the Queen. He's in the Young Leaders program.
That's right.
Yeah, and
I read about that guy.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list to meet the Queen.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm sticking.
Prince Harry actually took his name tag as well. I was like, mate, you cracked it.
Wow.
So yeah, they're very real people.
Before the show, I was talking to you about your background, finding out a bit about you, and the one thing that has fascinated me is your name and where it came from. Please tell us that story.
Yes, so my name's Petazae, and when my mum was pregnant with me, she had two names. It was Peter for a girl and Zayman for a boy. And then at my birth, she somehow decided to put them together. And I didn't actually find out the story till I told her that I was transgender. And she said to me that, she always felt like she had a boy and a girl, so she couldn't part with both names.
Wow.
That's why she had to put them together.
They gave me the chills.
Yeah.
She's like prescient. That's incredible.
Yeah, and then actually when I introduced myself to the Duchess Meghan Markle, she said, that's a great name. And I was like, it makes all the questions of where's that from, so worth it now.
Yeah, so
that's so much better than what Prince Charles told me.
What did he tell you?
He told me he had a nice chest.
Oh, that's right.
I'd prefer a nice name.
That's a bit creepy compared to
Nice
most
chest.
names.
Isn't it though?
Nice
Yeah.
chest. And weren't you at high school at the time?
Yep.
We'll leave
Wow.
it there.
Yeah.
You can check out more of our podcasts at newshub.co.nz/podcasts. And tell us where you're listening from. Email theoutlook@mediaworks.co.nz. Our lovely friend Donald Trump.
Yes.
I know a lot of people listening, but
What a nice
do you have
guy.
to talk about him? Let's just listen to when he was campaigning and he was telling us how he was going to be the biggest supporter of the LGBTI community.
As your president, I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology. Believe me.
So that was when he was campaigning, this foreign ideology that he seems so against. Since becoming president, let's have a look at his track record on everything that he's done to support the community. Yep. He has tried to reinstate a ban on trans people joining or serving in the military. He rescinded on an Obama-era guidance that made publicly funded schools make sure they had appropriate facilities and support for trans American students, and removed protection for trans workers under the civil rights law. This essentially says that discrimination against trans people is not illegal. And now the New York Times says the Trump administration wants to legally define transgender, basically what's on your birth certificate, and if you transition, you are clearly stuck with the one that's on your birth certificate, and you have to go back. Is that right? So if you've transitioned...
You just wouldn't be able to transition.
Yeah.
But if you already have now,
right.
you have to go back to being what's on your birth certificate.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Gets better.
Excellent. So what he'll call that some sort of like reverse transition ideology from a foreign land or something.
I imagine they'd call it like a correction. You know?
Correction.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You were wrong.
Yeah.
Let's correct that.
Petazae, your thoughts? I mean, you must have
Yeah.
plenty to say on this.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Whenever he does something like this, it's really hard for me not to get caught up in it. And I went to a place of anger straight away and, saw that rage of like, who does this guy think he is, And he has such a massive platform as well. It makes me feel really disheartened knowing that I'm trying to do lots of work amongst mental health and lots of support amongst trans issues and gender non-conforming issues, and yet this guy just bulldozes me over with what he's got, And so, it was really hard for me to think straight for a moment because I was just so angry. But, later that day I went to bed and I actually finally... the sadness crept in and I just started to bawl my eyes out and cry because, I think for me especially, and a lot of gender diverse people, you feel like your whole life you have to prove that you are this person and that, you're real and who you are is okay. And it's a constant struggle of feeling like you're invisible in a world that is not set up for you, And so, I just felt really invisible again. He took me right back to my childhood of when people would give me really feminine gifts, even though I was a very masculine little kid, and people were just pushing these ideas of femininity onto me.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, wow, I'm still invisible, even though I've been openly identifying as trans for 2 years.
Yeah. I grew up, this was especially through my teenage years, with this kind of thought that eventually the world will be full of people that are fully accepting and everything like that.
Yeah.
We just need to weed out the bad ones,
Yeah.
and eventually we would all be fine. Whereas
Yeah.
now I'm kind of realising that's definitely not the case. And they'll try to weed us out.
Yeah.
Well, you'd sort of hope there's kind of an overall positive direction, wouldn't you? Obama's got that whole thing
yes.
about, like, there are always corrections, but
Yeah.
we're still on the way up.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotta hope
Well, it's
that's
like
okay.
3 years ago that the White House was lit up with rainbow colours.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
how long ago does that feel?
I know.
Yeah.
Harry, you know a bit more about what Trump is doing in your time as our New York correspondent.
Yeah, yeah.
What can you tell us?
Well, just I was reading up about that the brief to the Supreme Court. I think the Department of Justice filed it. They're essentially trying to say that the Civil Rights Act doesn't protect gender identity, which would, I think, remove the only federal kind of bulwark that people have when they're trying to argue against this.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
He's a lovely, lovely man, that Trump.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to something. It'd be interesting to see what Donald Trump would think of a TV show that marries people who've never met each other. He'd probably all for it as long as he could pick
Yeah, exactly.
the women that were in it.
Yeah, as long as they were all sort of straight and white.
Or look like his daughter, it seems. Like.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So we are moving on to the world of entertainment. And this week saw the end of the hit show Married at First Sight. And it also saw the end of many relationships that were on it.
Oh,
That on-again and off-again relationship between Tayler and Samuel, where did that manage to get to? We've managed to push our way through Samuel's social media following to talk to Tayler about his experience and his thoughts on gay culture in New Zealand. So you were matched with Samuel Levi on the show. Are you here as a single man or a married man?
Here as very much a married man.
Wow.
Now we've had some ups and downs, and it's come out with a bloody good outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was quite up and down throughout the show. It was like, oh, that's not going to work. And then all of a sudden you were holding hands. You know, it was, it was one hell of a ride.
Surprise for it, yeah.
Yes. Now, a couple of things I want to talk to you about that aren't about the show. One of them is, you talked about it on the show, was PrEP. And there was a bit of feedback around how both Samuel and the show kind of dealt with that issue. Do you want to talk a little bit about why you're taking it and what you thought of the response?
I started taking it pretty much before the show, obviously. So it was more basically to, in long terms, well, short terms rather, just protect myself. I brought it up on the show just because I wanted to make it a topic that everyone can be comfortable about actually talking about. Because I think at the moment it's not really out there.
Yeah, and for those people who aren't really aware of what it is, it's basically a drug that can be prescribed now, right?
Yep.
And it really drastically lessens your chances of contracting any HIV. Did you have any feedback from people that you know or anything like that when that episode went to air?
No, not really. No, which isn't a bad thing at all. Like, I wasn't doing it to promote it at all. It was just everyone needs to stop being so PC about everything that's out there.
Yeah.
So it was fine. Yeah.
Stereotypes. This is something I always find quite fascinating.
Yeah.
And when the photos of the people that were going to be on the show were sent out, and from Samuel's social media following, we knew he was gay, so
Yeah.
we were thinking, right, who is he going to get matched with? And we went through it could be this guy, it could be this guy. But none of us picked you.
No one
no
picked
one.
me. I think if they dug deep and did some research, like some people did,
Yeah.
a lot of people were guessing everybody else but me. And
Yeah.
in a way, I was a little bit gutted because I was like, oh, am I not good looking enough for Samuel? It's, it was quite funny in a way.
Yeah.
Just
The reason I want to talk about this is because you're an electrician, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you look at lists of jobs that gay people tend to have and that sort of thing, you're not on that list, and that's what I kind of like, is that breaking that stereotype down.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you think about, or is something that has played any part in your life?
Well, it's not anything that I've gone out of my way to do. I am who I am. So yeah, by all means, I'm not like acting gay. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, or that's one thing that I want to pretty much say is that the label is one of those things that are just really annoying. I don't need to come up to someone and say, "Hey, my name's Taylor, I'm gay."
Yeah.
I don't expect anyone to come up to me and say, "Oh, my name's Jeff, I'm straight." It's
Yeah.
like, cool,
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah. And also in terms of things, I have people that recently I wanted to go see the V8 supercars. And they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, you're into
Really?
that?"
Yeah.
Like, and, they assume that because I'm gay and that I can also enjoy a Madonna concert that I can't. It goes,
Yeah.
And,
so there goes the stereotype
yeah.
again. So
Yeah. When I was growing up, though, I had an issue with there not being really any role models
Yeah.
that were not your typical Will and Grace gay kind of person. Was that an issue for you at all?
like I've only just come out probably about 4 years ago. Well, properly come out.
Yeah.
So it was, it was hard. I think you'd probably be the same. We didn't have that education at school, and
Yeah.
it was just not there. So we had to figure these things out on our own, basically. And then the likes of the internet came in, so we could
Yes.
do our own research on
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I personally didn't have a gay role model.
Yeah.
As such.
Do you think it is important, though, for younger Kiwis who are around now kind of going through that, what are we, what am I, that sort of thing? Do you think it would help if there were gay characters on TV that were broken down from the stereotype,
I think it really just comes down to education. Like, we just need to... Well, I don't even think that we need to. We just need to stop being so PC and see everyone as human instead of having that label. So, yeah, like, it could be on TV, and that could be a good medium for the education to be put out there.
You're from Christchurch.
I'm originally from Taranaki.
Okay.
But live in Christchurch now.
Right,
Yep.
so that even helps this question even more.
Yep.
The difference between being gay in Christchurch and Taranaki versus Auckland, did you notice anything different about the culture, the people, or acceptance or anything like that?
I think definitely living in a small town, like, there's not a lot of, that I really know of.
Yeah.
There's not too many gay men there. So, in a way, you did have to move to the bigger cities to, I guess, in a way, get a bit more variety, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the right word or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Christchurch community, they're quite tight-knit. I'm friends with a few of them down there, and they're really nice people. I haven't spent too much time in Auckland to really gauge whether or not Auckland are going to be the same situation, but like I personally get along with everyone, and at the same time I know that I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah. Quick fire questions. This is the end of the interview, but may find out some interesting things about you.
Go for it.
Do you collect anything?
Not at the moment, but I used to actually collect Pokemon cards.
Right, cool.
Judged.
What was the first song or album that you bought?
Oh, far out. I wouldn't have a clue. It was probably way back in the day, and I bought a Now CD.
Oh, yeah. One of the
variety.
many.
Yeah, one of the very many.
If you could hang out with anyone who is famous, living or dead, who would it be?
Chris Pratt.
Interesting, cool, okay. What's your worst habit?
Oh, gosh. This is going to sound gross. It's probably picking my nose. I need to stop doing it. I stopped biting my nails, and that was
That's
fine.
hard to do, though.
Yeah.
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 Next stop is the nose.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you
Cool.
very much.
Make sure you've subscribed to The Outlook on iTunes or whatever podcast player you use. Guys, would you go on it? And if so, which celebrity would you want to be matched with secretly?
Is this in a hypothetical world where I'm single?
Yes.
What
Unless
I
you've
got-
got some amazing arrangement with your husband.
Yeah.
where,
or bigamy's legal. I'm sure Trump will get onto that eventually. Judi Dench.
Okay. Really? Okay. Yeah.
I've actually thought about this in my head before, and it's really difficult because being trans, I'm quite big on consent, and I would want the person to know that before being forced into an intimate relationship with me.
Sure.
I was a big Harry Potter fan, so Emma Watson back in the day.
Okay.
Great.
Yep.
I thought you were going to say Harry Potter for a second. I was like,
Yeah, no, no, not Harry.
Emma Watson, not Hermione.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Hermione. Yeah.
as someone who's never seen any of the movies, I'm very confused
Or
right
read
now.
the book.
as to- Oh no!
Wow.
No.
You must be
missing
one
out.
of the few people on the planet.
I'm quite happy about that. That's the outlook for this week, guys. If you've got a story idea or an issue you'd like to talk to us about, send us an email, theoutlook@mediaworks.co.nz, or head to newshub.co.nz/podcasts. There you'll find the notes and, of course, a link to our Facebook page. Thanks to Petazae Thoms, the man who got closer to Meghan Markle than any other Kiwi this week, Tayler Morgan, who probably has more social media following than Samuel by now, and Harry McNaughton, who spent an entire morning having a serious discussion about how much sex you can have on TV before it's too much. I'm Dan Lake. Until next time, keep being yourself. Our inbox needs filling. Get in touch if you have a story you'd like to tell or a topic that you want us to cover. Email theoutlook@mediaworks.co.nz. All emails are kept confidential.